Hello again. If you want to keep up to date with some loopy trend in sexuality, then you cannot, of course, do better than consult a mental health professional on the west coast of the United States. How rightly it has been said that when they shook the tree, most of the nuts landed in California. Who better then to guide us through the intricacies of genderqueer, aromantic, polysexual, pansexual and bear than the Los Angeles County Department of Mental Health, who have issued a handy chart which will enable you to identify any perversion at all relating to homosexuality at a glance. For it offers as a visual aid memoir all the various flags used by each group to signify their adherence to this or that subdivision of the gay scene. And what a vibrant and exciting scene it is too. The chart may be seen in the thumbnail to this video. I have it here in front of me. It lists the following variations of being gay or trans. These are lesbian, transgender, bisexual, pansexual, non-binary, genderqueer, intersex, gender fluid, aromantic, asexual, polysexual, neutral, androgen, bear and agender. It was so much easier when it was just gay men and women and the occasional sex change case, wasn't it? Now, I'm guessing that you all want to know what these terms mean. Although I'm very keen on precise use of language and selecting the correct word for every occasion, I'm bound to say that I believe some of these words to be synonyms and therefore unnecessary, even if they do each have a separate flag for supporters or participants in the field of sexuality. Take, for instance, non-binary, genderqueer, gender fluid and androgen. Non-binary people reject the idea that they have a fixed gender and they fluctuate between male and female or another gender. Gender fluid people behave in the same way, moving from one gender to another. Genderqueer people also have a gender identity which cannot be categorised or defined as male or female, while androgen folk have a gender identity which is neither male or female, but sometimes a mixture of the two. I'm bound to say that all this debate over gender identity puts me strongly in mind of those medieval theologians who used to argue fiercely about how many angels could dance on the point of a pin. That each of those four categories of what is essentially the same condition should each require a separate flag strikes me as a little bizarre. And how are these four to be distinguished from agender people who do not think that their gender falls into any category, or indeed that they have a gender at all? And how are they to be different from neutral, which means that you are neither male or female and have no particular gender to express? It's a relief to turn to sexualities which we know and understand, such as bisexuals, of whom it used to be said unkindly that they were mostly married men who would secretly behave in a promiscuous way with other men and then come home and give their wives gonorrhea or AIDS. I'm sure that all bisexuals are not like that, but that is, I am afraid, the reputation that they always had. They were traditionally viewed with suspicion and dislike on the gay scene, I'm afraid. Then there are the bears. They also have a flag of their own. Bears are really just big, hairy homosexual men who are often bald. I say this not in a pejorative way. It is how bears describe themselves. Just try Googling the term. It's odd that while lesbians seemingly have a flag of their own, male homosexuals do not, only the bears. This strikes me as rather unfair because not all gay men would regard themselves as bears, not by a long chalk. There are, for example, clones. You know, the men with moustaches and leather caps with chains on the front and so on. Think village people. Don't they deserve their own flag too? I mention clones because, of course, at one time I was often taken for a homosexual of this type due to the moustache. I used to knock around with a group of lesbians, and so it was an easy enough mistake to make. You see a guy with a moustache sitting at a gay bar with a bunch of lesbians, it's bound to arouse suspicions of that sort. I mentioned earlier that furious debates which took place 500 years ago about angels dancing on the point of a pin come to mind. We find such an idea utterly ridiculous now, and cannot imagine how serious men could possibly have wasted their time on such foolishness. I have an idea that in another 500 years, much the same thing will be thought about our current anguish about sexual categories and gender identities. It seems to be a form of hysterical madness like tulip mania or the South Sea bubble, and I wish I could be around to see how future generations view the obsessions of early 20th century Britain and America.